I saw the touching video in grade 4.
Grade 5.
Grade 4.
Grade 5.
Third grade.
I remember the teacher and how they slid the little TV on the cart thing in.
They just kind of pulled it out. They didn't really give any warning.
I remember it was set in a playground.
There was Alex.
Just interacting with various characters.
That give different touches.
Like an ant.
The magician.
The clown.
A tickler.
The big one that I think everybody remembers is Uncle Leary.
Alex goes into this playground tube with her uncle.
Uncle Leary exposes himself to Alex, and Alex is like,
Uncle Leary, that's your penis.
And he says,
Touch it.
I was in grade 5 when I first saw the educational video called Touching. I remember thinking it was strange, I remember thinking it was funny at times, but the thing that I remember the most is that one scene in which the main character is sexually assaulted, on screen, through the silhouette of playground equipment.
I didn't like showing it. From the teachers at my school, we sort of felt creeped out about it, but maybe it's important. So in education, you get a curriculum as a teacher, and then you create things to make it work. And occasionally there are things where they say, okay, you must show this, you must do that. And this is one of them.
Although it's been nearly a decade since I was shown this film, it's an experience that I have never really forgotten. In the community where I grew up, it was something that people would reference and joke about. Even moving away from home and going to college, I was shocked to meet people from all across the province who remember being shown this exact film.
It was kind of stupid. The Uncle Leary part was the only part, but the rest of it was just normal. It was fine.
I thought it was really out of place, and some of us also did stay inside for recess. So.
I think it is a good thing that they showed it to us, because a lot of people might not have had that conversation with their parents.
The whole thing made me really uncomfortable, and I honestly didn't go near any of my uncles for a solid 2 months.
They were expecting kids to say, oh, I've been abused. I've been touched inappropriately. They said never show it on a Friday, because then we wouldn't be around the next day when they were ready to reveal the secret. If it helped a kid, then I was good for it. It was really hard to know what my opinion was. You worry about the kids. You don't want them, because there is innocence, right? And I would love it if you find out if there's any research to say this was beneficial. Then I would like it more.
There have been dozens of times over the years where it would pop back into my head and I would do a quick Google search to see if I could find it, but every single time I found nothing. But I certainly wasn't the only one looking for it. There were forums just full of people trying to even confirm its existence. But no matter where I looked, it was simply missing.
I was like, there's no way that this is not on the internet, and nothing came up. I can't find anything about this movie. Did it even happen?
Looking around, it's like the Bigfoot online. There's got to be a copy of it somewhere. I need to see this. Show me that this is true, and I didn't imagine this.
So now, I intend to find it. I want to learn who made this video. I want to know why it was made this way, and I want to know the impact that it had on thousands of kids across Ontario. So, our search begins at the school where this all started. I was hoping they would still have that same VHS tape on a shelf somewhere, but apparently, they had been directed by the school board to throw out all of the copies of the film years ago. So, we were back to scouring the web. In our efforts, we were only able to find 2 official sources that even mention it. One was on the Thrive Child and Youth Trauma Center's website, an organization that operates out of Hamilton, Ontario. I reached out to them via email, but they told me that the video was completely out of circulation and that they couldn't help me with obtaining a copy. The only other proof we could find was on a library cataloging website called WorldCat. This website gave us a few production details, the names of some people involved, and even some library records of copies floating around, the closest of which was in Detroit, Michigan, which was hours away and across a border. We thought that the better option would be to try to get in contact with the people listed about a video that they made over 2.5 decades ago. So it was time to start calling. After about a month and a half of dead ends, emails, and answering machines, we started to lose hope. When finally, we got our first big break. Bit by bit, the picture started to become more clear. It turns out that this video started out as a stage play and a children's book. The stage play was then taken by some associates of the theater company and turned into the video that we're familiar with. We were able to track down the original writer and creator named Michael Adkins. The only reason we were able to find him is because we discovered a secondary page for the same video on the library cataloging website. Only this one gave him a writing credit on the project. He was able to provide us with a massive collection of scripts, files, news clippings, and then finally, a VHS copy of the video itself. The only copy that even he knows still exists. After all these years and all this searching, I was finally able to sit down and watch it once more.
Why oh my? It's a secret.
I said that's my bench! Get off!
The film starts with Alex, our protagonist, spending their day at the playground.
I could be like you and maybe you could be like me and maybe you could be a boy or be a girl.
They're accompanied by their imaginary mime best friend.
Well, maybe I imagined it. After all, I imagined you.
And also Bweeby, an older, trustworthy companion who plays the saxophone.
If you need anything else, just holler.
Thanks, Weeb.
Over the course of the day, they meet various characters who are each meant to represent some kind of physical mistreatment. There's the abrasive ant,
I want to hug you and squeeze you and kiss you.
the magician named Friendly,
And what do you think of this? Ta-da!
Where'd that come from?
You might say I've just got the magic touch.
the tickling clown,
Oh, I'm the guy they call the tickler. I can't help myself. He's a little bit crazy, yeah.
and then finally, Uncle Leary.
Alex? Hey, how are ya?
Hi, Uncle Leary. What are you doing here?
Just thought I'd go for a walk in the park. Hey, what's this? I've never seen this thing here before.
Oh, it's home free for when we play tag or hide and go seek.
Oh, I like hide and go seek. Say, I could teach you another tunnel game if you'd like.
Yeah, what kind of tunnel game?
Well, here, I'll show you. Oh, now this is a special game. You have to promise not to tell anybody.
Why not? If it's fun, shouldn't everybody play?
It's not a game for everybody. Now, do you promise?
Okay.
Okay.
Uncle Leary, that's your penis. Why are you showing me that?
I just thought you might like to look at it, that's all.
I don't know.
Do you want to touch it, Alex?
No one ever asked me to touch them there before. I don't think I should.
Yeah, Alex, I'm your uncle. Surely it's okay if I say it is. Now, go on, I want you to. Touch it, Alex. Alex, I want you to. Go on. It's the way we play the game.
I don't feel good, Uncle Leary.
Touch it again, Alex. Go on.
No, I don't want to.
What a surreal experience. This is a film that does provide a lot of information to help kids navigate this topic.
Remember, your body is your own, and nobody, but nobody, has the right to touch you without your permission.
However, that one scene in the playground tube is just as scary as I remember it being all of those years ago. We had found the video, but our search was far from over. I still had a lot of questions. But luckily, I was able to find some answers. What do you have to say to anyone who may think the video or the play is too much or it's offensive?
I've already prepared a punchline for that one. I thought that was kind of funny. So you won't use this, I know that. But to the people that think my play is offensive, they can fuck off. Prior to this, I'd written a book on grieving for children. At the time, I was also working at Children's Aid. I was working with what they call the hardest to serve kids. They got a whole bunch of money together to produce a play on child abuse. Why don't you apply to write this play? And I said, that's not a bad idea. I've got a lot of theatrical background. I've never written a play before. but I have theatrical background. My belief, instead of just doing a play specifically about sexual abuse, mine was about the kind of abuse that could lead very easily to sexual abuse, like being bullied and not being able to do anything about it, which means you've been disempowered, which means it would be easy for somebody in a position of authority to come in and take something from you sexually because you've got prior experience on having other things taken from you. Or the overbearing relative. I think, unfortunately, a lot of parents, Oracle Snork, who hugs too hard.
Then how about a great big hug and kiss?
You know, go hug your aunt. I don't want to. She squeezes. She's your grandmother. You go. So you just disempowered that child and said, if an adult says you do it, you do it. Well, if an adult goes, zip, come here, kid. Well, you've been doing what you're told up till then. So the same, yeah, all the characters in there, with the exception of Uncle Leary, which is very direct in sexual abuse. Tickling, the tickler, he's a riot. I like him. Kids get tickled, and sometimes they don't want to be tickled, but the people tickling them because they're laughing keep tickling them when you're saying, I'm bigger than you, and I'm going to tickle you. Again, preparing them to be sexually abused.
Stop it, I hate being tickled.
You hate. Nonsense! That is ridiculous!
We picked some superb actors, and they all were very, very good. It was very, especially Kevin Prentice, multifaceted.
My name is Kevin Prentice. In the video, I played Friendly, who's the magician. I played Uncle Leary, and I played the tickler. I actually thought the video had died. It had been shelved somewhere and never distributed. So you were a surprise to me. Look at this. People saw it.
Hi, my name is Elizabeth Van Wyck, and I played the character of Alex in both the video Touching and in 3 seasons of the tour of the stage play of Touching. So I really thought it probably was used for a few years around Hamilton. I had no idea. Like, I know people now, I think they probably saw it. You know, my friends' children and friends of my children, you know, they probably saw it.
I performed in it from 1987 to 1997, 10 or 11 years. We quit counting after 200 performances.
I ran every spring for 14 years. I've never seen kids sit so quietly as they sat during my 50-minute play.
We wanted to make sure that children had a great time while they were watching it, but that even though all the jokes and the fun were there, that we were staying on topic.
There was a few people that were not happy with it. They didn't like the idea that I used the word penis in a play about child sexual abuse, which I always find like, okay.
There was a lot of reticence. There was a lot of people very concerned about what exactly their children were going to be subjected to. There were families who would picket that they wanted the show thrown out of town. When we began, it was only the Hamilton Wentworth area.
So these parents would come and then they'd meet me after. Quite a few of them said to me, I don't want to send my kid to your play, but I have to, because if I don't, people are going to wonder why. One woman actually, I remember very clearly, said, now that my child knows about sexual abuse, there's a higher chance that they will be sexually abused.
But the community was split. We let them know what they were going to come to, and that's all they could think of when they walked in. It's, okay, how traumatizing is this? And then they would see the show. I would say 90% did a complete turnaround as they watched the show. It was not what they thought it was going to be.
Well, as my play toured, got to the point that a social worker was starting to have to go to the play because more often than not, a kid would disclose to somebody shortly after the play. It's quite significant, the amount of sexual abuse that's going on out there.
And a child actually did come forward on my very first show, which I found really challenging, but I felt I was really happy to be a part of helping somebody.
4 years into touring the show, a mother came up with her daughter. Excuse me, I'm getting moved right now thinking about it. Her daughter had come every year to the show, and her daughter had been sexually abused. And every time the Uncle Leary scene happened, her daughter would urinate. She could not stay. She had to dash out. She was embarrassed in front of her friends, and she had to run out to the bathroom. And on the 4th year, 4 years older, obviously she was 9 or 10 at that point, she finally was able to sit through the whole show. And after the show was over, of all the people in the cast and the social worker and the public health nurse, she wanted to come and speak with me, which was a big surprise. She walked right up to Uncle Leary And she said, her mom said she would like to say something to him. And she told me, 4 years, couldn't get through the show. This is my first year I got through. And I know that you're not really Uncle Leary. And I said, oh, thank you. But she put out her hand and shook my hand. And I'm moved to tears just remembering that moment. Yep.
I mean, I cried all night first night I did the show because this little boy came forward. I was grateful, but, you know, he's starting to tell me his story. I was just like emotionally drained hearing this one little story, you know, and not little like unimportant, but in the vast array of stories.
The only thing that was difficult was playing the Uncle Leary role. That gave me the creeps every single time I performed it. That never went away, ever. I just felt nauseous inside every single time. But I knew, too, that it was very important that we do it exactly as we did it, which was playing it completely straight and completely real.
It was costing too much to put the whole production together, to bring all the actors back for that season. Not that I had to make any money, but it wasn't supposed to be losing money. So they thought making a video would be much more cost effective.
I'm Lori McCurley, and I was a production manager, I guess you'd call me, on that job. They came to us with a written script, and we produced it for them.
My name's Andrew Robertson, and I was hired as the director of the project called Touching back in '94.
It was the first time we had done a job like that. That was not really about trying to sell somebody something.
The power of no is cheap and easy to use. Here's how it works. The next time someone pushes you from behind, you turn around and shout out, "No!"
I always like those jobs, you know, the jobs that feel like you're contributing to society. You're not just trying to make money.
In the video, only 2 people that had ever done the stage play were in the cast.
It was exciting to me because I had never shot film or video.
Touch me there no more and don't come knocking on my door, 'cause if you do, I'll say to you, go take a hike.
You look at the script and you're pulling it off, and you're like, "Really? Are we doing this? Is this cool? Is this everybody? Yeah, okay, let's do it." You know.
Let's see that again in slow motion.
And it all happened so fast that I didn't even know he was touching me. Touched me here, here, and here.
Even some of those scenes, like, you know, the tunnel scene, and, you know, Uncle Leary comes out and says, you know, nothing happened. You know, you could hear a pin drop in there.
You gotta give me a break here. Please, kid. Alex, I'm your uncle. You can't call the police on me.
I think we ended up losing money on it when we did the math, but it wasn't a big money maker for us. But it allowed us to add something to our reel that we didn't already have, right?
I've never watched it. Well, I watched the video on the premiere night. That's it. Yeah.
So you haven't seen it since?
No.
That showing in 1993 or 94. That's the last time I saw it.
And I hadn't seen the video since it was released. So the memories, a lot of them are gone. But it was a positive experience. I felt really good to be a part of it.
I thought it was cheesier. I thought the games show scene was unnecessary.
And I'm afraid that's all the time we have for this week on Name That Touch. Join us next time, won't you?
And I thought that the rap song that they put in place of the song that I wrote for the original play, it agitated.
A touch can be good, and a touch can be bad. A touch can confuse you and mess up your head.
I did talk to the director about that. I said, you know, that really sucks.
When you're the original creator of something, you don't like seeing your baby get a tattoo. You know? What are you doing to my child? Yeah. And I know that feeling.
If were given a choice right now, I'd be more comfortable dealing with the stage play than the video. Much more comfortable.
The video scene with Uncle Leary was far more intense than how we did it on the stage. The lighting, the music, everything, far more intense. I was out of the loop on that. It was far less ominous on the stage show.
That was the one that we knew, you know, was the most sensitive, and we had to kind of get the right tone for it. Less is more. Let the audience, you know, fill in the blanks where there's all these dark shadows, right? I thought it came off very powerful.
I would like to say it's not too much. The problem is, I would be regretful if it was too much. And where do you decide to take that chance? Because if we're not getting the message out, we're not doing anything. And this happens to people. So how else do you do it?
There will be some children who get disturbed by it, but the impact on that child is far less disturbing and far less harmful than if they actually were to go through something like that and not have the tools to protect themselves.
I'm sorry if we shocked you. We didn't intend to shock you, and I'm sorry if that was, a byproduct of you watching it.
I love to shock people. I think being explicit can be beneficial because it's almost like you force people to pay attention because they can't ignore it.
And we like the fact that actually it had a bit of a shock to it, right? Because how else are you going to make an impact?
He showed me his penis and he asked me to touch it. I didn't want to do it, baby, but he said it would be okay, and now I feel really sick in my stomach.
In my opinion, the best way to talk to a child is to tell the truth. Don't sugarcoat it, don't disguise it, and don't omit.
But somebody may need it sugar-coated, and that's where you run into problems. Person A needs something different than person B.
No grown-up has the right to ask a child to touch them like that.
What am I gonna do, Daddy?
You did the right thing by telling me, Alex.
I think a huge portion of society really, really wants to believe that none of this is ever happening. And they are so surprised when they start to hear about this stuff.
In my practice, because I deal with a lot of survivors, they tell me stories where it was just not believed, or they just moved. They just moved, or the perpetrator, once it was found out, they just moved, but nothing was ever done. And even the child was told, it'll never happen again, don't worry about it, which is really not a way to fix the problem.
We started hearing back about the impact it was having. Wow, that's a real rare opportunity. And so, yeah, but definitely one of the highlights of my whole career.
Sometimes you feel like you've missed a whole whack of kids, but maybe there's one or two that you feel like you've done something for them. And I have had those experiences, and I thank my experience with working with touching for that.
I think that it had a very serious, long-lasting impact on a lot of lives. I knew after, with so much attention for the play and so many kids seeing it and so many people giving me praise, and I got a couple of awards, that I jokingly said, I can die now. I've done something important. I've had an impact. I've changed. I've helped a lot of people.
That showing of the video, they actually asked me to come out and receive an award for the years of work that I had done on the show, being the only remaining member of the original cast for that whole, however many years it was.
Me? You shouldn't have.
And I was embarrassed to no end. I was. What really needed to happen that night, and I wish I'd had the courage to do it, was I should have said, would you please turn on the house lights? I need to see the audience. And then told them those were the people, those social workers that work day in and day out with these children. They are the heroes. I really hope that these types of educational materials keep getting out there, keep pushing the message that it does exist, it is happening, and we need to put a stop to it.
When we set out to make this film, my main goal was to find a strange piece of lost media from my childhood. Something I could laugh at, something I could cringe at, and something to reaffirm the shock that I felt while watching this as a kid. But after learning more about the impact that this video had and the people who are behind it, my opinion on this film has changed a lot. When I think about the kids who are out there who have had to deal with something like this, it makes any kind of shock that I felt while watching this in 5th grade feel so trivial in comparison. Now, I'm not saying that anyone who is creeped out by this video is wrong, or even the fact that this film is beyond any sort of criticism. But if this video was able to help even one child, what would you say to that?